Well, welcome once again to My Harlow My Life, and I really do hope you're enjoying the shows that we've managed to put out so far. A few more coming up, of course, in the future as well. But really pleased to say we've got the Master of Ceremonies of Harlow Town Football Club, Mr. Lee Knight. He's joining me today for show 6 and the flying pie already. But Lee, I mean, how are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm good, though. I'm good. It is what it is. You got to put up with it, and we've been out once or twice, but that's it. We've been adhering to the lockdown because I'm old. I'm getting on a bit in years now. Am I the oldest one you've had on so far?
No, probably Ray Dyer.
How old's Ray Dyer? Ray Dyer might be older mentally. Yeah, yeah, and physically.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
listen, mate. I
but
mean,
yeah,
how have you been coping though? How have you, how's it all been? How's it been going? And I know you're very much a family man. And I know we was talking up before we start recording. A bit tough for you.
it's very tough. Yeah, it's very tough. As I was saying to you, our daughter and granddaughters and son-in-law, they live in Spain. So it's difficult for us because the last time we saw them was New Year's Eve. That was when we flew home. And we were due to fly on March the 15th, but Jet2 cancelled our flights on March the 14th. And then the lockdown started on the Monday. So I didn't go out personally. I didn't go outside the front door for about 6 or 7 weeks because I got the letter from the NHS
Mm.
saying I'm high risk because I've had medical problems in the past few years. So I was high risk, not allowed out till June the 30th. But as time goes on, it's easing a little bit, and we went out last week, my wife and I, but only for an hour and a half. We had a nice little drive around Gilston and around the back of Sawbridge, with just looking at places we'd never been to, little back streets rather than staying on the main roads. And I've only lived in Harlow for 10 years. Um, my daughter moved out here in about 2004. And so my connection with Harlow Town has only been over the last 12 or 13 years. So I'm sure you want to ask me what was the first game I went
Yeah,
to
I
and
mean
what do I remember about it?
yeah, that is the first question. I mean, what took you over to Harlow Town in the first place? What was your mindset to think? Do you know what? I want to go over to Barrow's Farm today and go and have a look and see what's going on.
Well, our daughters, as I say, she and the son-in-law, I think they moved here in 2004. And we were coming over weekends. My wife and I, we would come over weekends and stay with them and stuff like that. And I used to go on a Sunday morning over to Great Parndon because my daughter lived off on the other side of Abercrombie Way. So I would go over on a Sunday morning to watch Great Parndon. I'm a football lover. I just love football. I love the involvement. I love the banter. I love everything about it. And I was playing football till I was 60 in vets football at that age, obviously, playing vets football. And then a couple of years after that, I had a stroke. So it wasn't great times. But then I started going over to Great Pardon, and I thought, well, there's got to be a local football team. And I looked at Harlow Town. I thought, I'll go over there. It was the old stadium,
Right? Okay.
where
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was.
Sports. Yeah.
It wasn't very inviting. It was it was it was a horrible grey day. It was pouring down a rain, and my daughter went, "What do you want to go out in this weather for?" I said, I've been footballing worse weather than this. And so I went over there. Don't ask me who they were playing. I quite enjoyed it. There was people there. I got talking to a couple of people like you do, and that was it. And then when we moved out here, being a QPR supporter, no laughing, being a QPR supporter, I thought, well, for me to get down the ranges and get back here, it's going to take me an hour, hour and a half to travel over there by tube. And I'm not, I thought I've got to leave about 1:45, not getting back to about half 6, 7 o'clock. It's like most of the day gone. When I was younger, I would have done it in a heartbeat. But being an old married man and you know leaving the wife on her own for so long, I didn't really want to do that because, as you said, I'm a family man. And I like to be around my family. So, yeah, and I've enjoyed every time I go to Harlow. I enjoy it, regardless of what happens, win, lose or draw. I enjoy it because of the people that are there, the people that you talk to, and the banter, and the laughs, and that's what it's all about for me. So,
Can you
I don't know what
remember?
other people think.
Can you remember, Lee, what the first game was though that you went to see? That you can remember, that one that sort of stuck in your mind. Is it
For
was
me
it
personally, or Harlow Town.
for you? Yeah, for you personally, a game that you went to at Harlow Town or you saw Harlow play. I mean, what was the first one that really stuck in your mind?
I don't really know. All I know is that I think Danny Brown was playing, and the fullback at the time, I think his name was Danny,
Yeah.
and I think they were both ex-Orient
Hmm.
players. And if you'd have asked me this 10, 15 years ago, I'd have been out to name all the players. But I mean, as I say, as you get older, your mind starts to play tricks on you, and you think, no, he wasn't playing. Rodney Marsh didn't play for Harlow Town. I know Rodney Marsh didn't. So I mean, it's just it's silly thoughts that come into your mind. But the first football match I ever went to, personally, my uncle took me to Queens Park Rangers in 1958. I was 10 years old, and it was the times when a QPR at the time, behind the goal, there was the kiddies section, the child section, about 8 or 10 steps, and they used to pass the kids down over their heads. They'd just pass you down over their heads, so you could stand behind the goal, and it was just for the kids there. And I've always remembered that. And my uncle, I think he took me for my birthday, which was in the March, and that was the first football match I ever went to. So that was my. But I didn't really get involved in football because at the time I wore glasses, right? Old National Health glasses. People now wear glasses as a fashion item. Now they were the old National Health things with a curly bit round the ear hole, right? And I had white hair, believe it or not, I had white hair, and I was a prime target for the bullies. I was a skinny little fella, like, weighed nothing, and I didn't really start playing football till I was 16, and I was working at a place in Hammersmith, and they started a football team, and it was men. I'm 16, skinny little fella, and these are blokes 21, 22. When you're in your mid-teens and there's 20, so, and I was pretty quick. And they said to me, God, blimey, you're quite a good player, aren't you, son? I went, I don't know, am I? Typical 16, I don't know, I might be good, I don't know. And so that was how I got involved in playing football, and then going on to managing a few teams and amateur level. And I loved it. I've always loved football. You ask my wife, I've driven her crazy with football over the years. She reminds me to this day of an Easter weekend when I went out to 4 different games. One on a Good Friday, uh, one on the Easter Saturday, and 2 on the Easter Monday. And she's never forgiven me. So, but we're still together.
But with Harlow itself, though, I mean, when they moved from the sports centre into the new ground, I mean, did the sort of camaraderie for you then sort of get better for you? I know you said before, that you went over there and you love going over there because of the camaraderie you get with the people,
Exactly.
getting able to talk and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And I always know that when I was doing your job, and I was up there, and I could always see you down there with the likes of John and a couple of others, always sitting sort of 3 or 4 rows down to my right hand side and having a good
Yeah.
laugh and abusing the referees and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? Between a lot of you, but I mean,
Never,
but I
never
mean,
abused the referee or a linesman in my life. I just take that back immediately.
but in all fairness, I mean, is there games that you can, is there games over there that that you've looked at, and I know some of the others that I've asked the same question to have come up with certain games that were sort of that sort of stick in their mind. Is there games in there? Is there games before we went to 3G that's stick in your mind? FA Cup games, or is there games once the 3G went down?
No, my main memories of Harlow Town are on the 3G.
Mm.
Since, as I say, since 2010. I don't know when the 3G was put down. When was 3G put down?
Oof, I think we're talking about 6, 7 years now, aren't we? 6 years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, I just used to go down the first couple of seasons, and I'd go where we are of a
Mm.
lunchtime now. I would sit to the left
Mm.
in that back row, and I remember Martin Barnard being up there,
That's right. Yeah.
and a bloke that I used started going. We started following Harlow all over the place. Bob Stannard, Big Bob, and we became really good friends, Bob and I. I mean, after a couple of years of me sitting there and just shouting, I was thinking, why is it so quiet in the stands? And that's what when I was sitting in those stands and I had me rattle or my megaphone, I just wanted all the people around me to sort of make some noise, like Buddha and all the other boys on the other side.
Mm.
And that's what you want to hear at a football match. You want to hear some noise. And as a player, you respond to that. You respond to. You don't respond to people shouting obscenities at you and saying you're a wanker or stuff like that. You don't want to hear that. You want to hear say, okay, have another go, get up. You still got, keep going, keep going. You want to hear that. You don't want to hear people putting you down.
Mm.
And it was the same when I was playing. If we had a bit of a crowd, you used to get the ump with people that were having a go. Well, I used to get the ump with people that were having a go at me, and it used to make me try a little bit harder, and I'd sort of do things that I shouldn't have done. But it's as I say, the supporters have got a great deal to offer. I just wish our supporters in the main stand could make their voices heard a little bit more.
Mm.
And I know there's some elderly people up there, and they're not sort of so good at shouting at. But there's kids that go up there, and the kids, and when there are kids up there, you do sometimes hear the kids having a shout out, and I think that's lovely. I think that's lovely. As long as they're not shouting anything, sort of obscene or anything, that's lovely. Come on, get on, get up, have another go. Go on, unlucky, unlucky, get another crossing. And that's but as I say, the two main games I remember. Getting back to your original question, I'm like a politician, aren't I? I go off on tangents. I'm away with the fairies sometimes. Anyway, um, the two main games I remember are the one at Whittam, the playoff game, where we lost 3-0.
Yeah.
Was it
So,
3-0? And they were brutal. They were brutal. I mean, they put some things about over there. I mean, I remember Josh Urquhart getting studded right up here on his chest. I mean, the bloke went through. The bloke didn't even get booked. And you just think, oh dear, that's a bit harsh. But then, of course, the main game that I remember is the champion, the one that won us the champ, get us promotion, and
yeah.
I was just, it was just a fantastic day. I mean, it was and the Lane Eady goal. That to me was a fantastic goal, and I used to sit with his mum and dad, Paul and Sam, and I remember him coming up and giving his mum a kiss, and it was lovely, lovely days, lovely days. I hope they come back, and they will come back. They will come back. Those days definitely will come back.
So you say you enjoyed the Whittam game. Did you go to the game before that? Did you go to Haybridge on the I think it was a Tuesday or Wednesday night when of the semi final when because I spoke to quite a lot of people about it and their memories of those, especially those couple of games because it was really weird how the Haybridge game was. We hadn't beaten them all season, 3 times, 3 losses. Then we beat them. Then we go to Whittam. I mean, when you went to Whittam, was you expecting Harlow to win because of what happened at the week before? Was you going there with full expectation that we've beaten these
I,
two twice, we've beaten them twice already? It's just a matter of turning up and winning the game.
I didn't think it was a matter. I don't think any game's a matter of just turning up and winning the game. You've still got to put the effort in, and unless you put the effort in, you're not going to get anything out. It doesn't matter how skillful you are. If you're not going to put the effort in, you could be like as I mentioned earlier, Rodney Marshall, Stanley Bowles. They had all the skills. Peter Osgood. These players had all the skills, but if you're not going to put that effort in, if you're not going to put 100% effort in, you're just going to rely on your skills. You're going to get slaughtered every time. You're going to get beaten every time. You've got to put the effort in, 100%, no doubt about it. Every single player on the pitch has got to give 100%. And on that particular day, I wanted us to win. I desperately wanted us to win. On the same token, we didn't play very well that day. Didn't play very well at all. And as I say, there was a few things put about elbows and stuff like that. But Reedy, the big centre half, he mullered him. The big centre half, and poor Reedy, I think he got kicked all over the place. And I like Reedy as a player. He was, a busy player, but he didn't have his best game there. Like a lot of the team that day didn't have their best game. But there you are. We won it the season after.
2 seasons later.
So
Yeah, two.
two
Yeah.
seasons. So I mean, it's just like, okay, it wasn't meant to be, but we get up and have another go next season,
Mm.
and that's what we did for 3 or 4 seasons. We were up there, and that was good, exciting times. Also, the last couple of seasons we've been on a bit of a crest of a slump, really. You know, but it's football.
Mm.
You got to have winners, you got to have losers, and whatever will be. I'm at an age now where I can appreciate a lot of the youngsters. I say youngsters; they're probably in their 40s and 50s, but yeah, I mean, they're still expecting us to win every game, and it's not like that. Football's not like that. And over this last year, well, over the last 6 months, as you know, we've had a change of manager, change of chairman. Whoever Chris Ottaway is, I don't know who Chris
Well, I was
Ottaway
going to
is.
ask you that. Should we go into the story while you're on to Chris Ottaway? Let's go to the story. So, the story was, and it was a story between me and Lee. So people out there might not even have known it. You know what happened, but basically, I think I'd come back to possibly the first game I was back at, or second game, whichever it was, and Lee was sitting in the boardroom. He'd done all his stuff on the mic and was sitting in there. I think he was having something to eat with him. And there was a big table round there. There was Lee, there was Donna, and there was Tom, there was Tim,
Yeah.
there was Chris Ottaway. There was Chris Ottaway's partner there as well, and a couple of others all round the table.
Yeah.
And I went in, had a chat with them all, and said my goodbyes and all the rest of it. And then there was a question put out on Facebook, I think later on in that day or the following day, and I just put on there saying about Chris Ottaway, and Lee put in it, who's Chris Ottaway? And I just turned around and said, the guy that you was actually sitting at the table with, having taken the week last night. I mean, it was just really, really funny, you know, really funny.
Well, the thing was, during that game, his partner Luby was sitting to my right, about 10 or 12 seats down, and Chris was just behind me, behind the mic, and he was sort of looking out, and she was waving at me. Luby was, and I thought I knew her from Uxbridge, because I'd been over to Uxbridge a few months earlier for the away game, and I thought I've seen them. I know that, but you know, I think I know that woman. But and she was waving. I was waving back, and then she was going. I went, and I said, oh, and then I turned to Chris and I went, oh, I think someone wants you. And he looked at me, no, don't tell her I'm here. Don't tell her I'm here. I still didn't know who he was. I'm sitting chatting to him like you do. You talk to people. You do. No one. I mean, they're so uncouth up at Harlow. You know, they're totally couthless up there. No one introduced us. You know, and I said, Lee, this is Chris. So I'm just sitting chatting to him and having a good chat. And Luby was there and chatting. Paul Wilson, Tom, having a chat. And then you put out Chris Ottaway's new. I was just like, who's Chris Ottaway? I don't know who he is. I then asked you. And then, of course, Chris got involved in the conversation. And then at the following game, he come walking past. And I went, hello, I know you. I know your name, don't I? Do I know you? And he went, yes, you know me now. I said, sorry about that, Chris. No, big apologies. I didn't know the bloody hell he was. How am I supposed to know everyone down there? Anyway,
but I mean, with that, I mean, do you feel that was a little bit of a shame that we didn't get to see what Chris had got? You know, we'll get to see what's Chris's plan is for the club in the coming months, and but a bit of a disappointment that we didn't get to see what his plan was, maybe March time and onwards, because it would have been very interesting, wouldn't it?
It would be very interesting because I don't really get involved in the football side of it. I just go down there, as I said, to watch the football, have a laugh with the fellas. What goes on behind the scenes is nothing to do with me. You know, money, paying, wages, stuff like that. That's totally nothing to do with me. And I just go down there for the laugh and the banter and stuff like that. But I did speak to Chris and said, I'm sure you've got some new ideas. Sorry, that's my wife wrecking the kitchen. You're right, love. Yeah. So sorry. Oh, can you hear that? I won't tell you what she said.
Right.
But so I said to him, I'm sure you got some new ideas, and he said, yeah, I've got some good ideas. Hopefully, they're good ideas for everybody else, and I will be trying to implement them as the season goes on. But then, of course, the lockdown and the pandemic started, and as you say, it's a shame that we haven't been able to see Chris fulfil his intentions, but I'm sure we will do
Mm.
in the future. It's all going to come. It's all going to come good eventually when this pandemic is over, and when it's safe, absolutely 100% safe for people to start going back and mixing, and for people. I know they're starting professional football now. um, my views on that, I don't really know the safety aspect of it, but you got to suck it and see, ain't you? I mean, you got to try and just they've started in Germany and they're starting here, and they've been in Poland and places like that, and Denmark. At the moment, I don't think there's been any extra cases from any of those games,
Mm.
which to me is good news.
Mm.
But it's going to be months and months for this, not only for football, for this country to get back on its feet again. It's going to take a long, long time for it to get back on its feet
So,
again,
so,
which is
so we see lots of stuff on Twitter and Facebook, and from quite a lot of clubs already. Supposedly signing players and supposedly doing this and supposedly doing that. I mean, we've not, Harlow been very, very quiet.
yeah,
We don't know, players wise, management wise, etc.,
yeah.
etc. I mean, are you expecting, wholesale changes come, once, it sort of the Harlow stuff starts coming alive again, where we start getting information about sort of the playing season? I mean, are you expecting, a lot of changes in playing personnel, maybe management personnel? I mean, are you expecting, changes?
You always expect changes. There's always going to be changes, particularly at this level of football, because that's the nature of the beast. Players don't really stay around at too many clubs for long periods. The only exception for us at the moment is Fabian.
Mm.
I'm happy that Fabian's come back. I mean, I love Fabian. I liked him as a player, and he's a very nice person as well. I like him as a person. But at the start of last season, we had a complete new team, apart from the goalkeeper and one other. Was it one other? Was Yannick? I think Yannick was,
Yeah. See, was it? Yeah.
and Cyrus, and so we had a whole new team come in. So at this level, and as I say, I don't know the financial side of the club. I don't know what goes on. Um, Only Tommy can answer that.
Hmm.
And if you manage to get Tommy on at one point, he won't answer you anyway. So so, and I like it. He's a nice fella, Tommy, Danny. They're all nice people. As I said, everybody's a nice person until they wrong you, and then you only take people at face level.
Mm.
You know, there are people out there that you think, I like him, and I like everybody
Yeah.
until they sort of say something or do something to upset me. Then I think, oh, that wasn't very nice, and you take it on the chin and you move on. I'm at an age now where I'm not into really getting into battles and stuff like that with people.
Mm.
I just love football. I love the people in football. Um, I love the whole scene of football. I love the smell of the changing room. I just love it all, and it's just I'm lucky to have been involved in football for so many years now. As I say, 1958, and we're now 2020. You're looking at what, 62 years of football. So, and it's always more or less been in my life in
Mm.
one form or another. And I just love it. I love talking to people like yourself who are quite knowledgeable about football. I like talking to football about the idiots that don't know anything about football, as far as I'm concerned. But
But
then they say I'm an idiot because I don't know what I'm talking about, which is probably partially true.
But Lee, talk. I mean, you say you go there down there for for the camaraderie and and all the rest of it. So I mean, if we take you back to when you were sitting down in the stand rather than doing the tannoy, and you're sitting there with all your mates and stuff like that. Talk to us about some of the the fun times you've had there with them, and tell us about your mates and maybe some of the fun car journeys that you've had as well on away games. There's got to be some really funny things that have come up in over the time that you've been there.
I mean, obviously, I mean, John Chapman, he's he's a typical taxi driver. If you know, what I mean, when I'm with John. I prefer to be sitting in the back and letting him drive because he's a taxi driver and he can just, where do you want to go, mate? You know, and he can turn around like that. But normally I'm driving. No. And Bob Stannard as well. We've had some great laughs, me and Bob. We got lost on the way back from, where was it? Lost on the way back from, down Norfolk somewhere.
Wroxham?
Was it Downham, Mark?
Oh, Dereham or Needham?
Dereham. We went down to Dereham and it was a nighttime game and we got lost on the way. It took about 3 hours to get home. And I was driving. I was saying, "You're supposed to know where you're going, Bob." I think we got home about 1 o'clock in the morning. And he's magic for the one-liners, is Bob. He comes out with these silly one-liners, and I can't remember any of them. I do remember one line I cracked at a game, and someone in front of me was shouting out to the linesman, "Lino, Lino, Lino." I said, "It's not Lino, mate. It's 3G. Get your facts right." Everybody sort of thought that was quite funny, but at the time, I suppose it was quite funny at the time. But no, as I say, there's many funny stories. John Chapman has been the butt of them. John Chapman's favourite word is panache. Panache. And if you're watching a game with him, he goes, "Oh, look at him. He's got no panache." But you ask him what panache means, he won't be able to tell you. I think it's a word he's picked up somewhere.
So I mean, how did you
me right up the arse?
So how did you become? Because the one thing I always remember coming to the games was you'd go into your little sort of bag of goodies. Was that what your wife was baking? I don't know, but there'd always be cakes and sweets and God knows what else coming out the bag.
Well, that was it because I started taking some sweeties for the kids. You know, just for the kids around, and not in a sort of Jimmy Savile type of way. Obviously, it was just like to give the kids a treat, and or a cake, or and then I started buying sausage rolls, and so it became donuts and sausage rolls on a Saturday for me. But the first time I started taking a bag was with me rattle and me megaphone. Not that I really need a megaphone, but I think that was why they offered me the job of being on the mic, because they got fed up with hearing the rattle and the megaphone and some of the silly things I was saying. But if anybody wants to use the rattle and the megaphone, please let me know, and they can have a loan of it. But the rattle has got to be kept in good order because that's been in the family for many, many years. That old wooden rattle of mine, and I haven't been able to use it since I've been on the mic. But yeah, it's donuts and sausage rolls on a Saturday lunchtime. And there's people sitting in the committee room, in the room, hurry up, Lee, we want our donuts and our sausage rolls. So it's sort of got a bit of a thing now for people to wait for me for the donuts and sausage rolls. I don't mind doing it. It's it's all part and parcel of the game.
Yeah,
it's all part and parcel of the game, and it's a game. At the end of the day, it's a game. And when I was younger, I would go home thinking, "Oh, we got beat. Oh, we got done this." But at the end of the day, I would be talking about a little bit of magic I'd been seen by, Rodney Marsh or whoever. I keep mentioning Rodney Marsh because he was the first player at QPR that I remember thinking, "Oh dear, wouldn't it be lovely to have those skills?" But my favourite all-time player is Dennis Law. He was my absolute all-time favourite player. In Harlow Town, I'm trying to think who I would class as the best individual player. In my time over the last 10, 12 years, I've been going over there, which is what I was quite surprised about. I listened to Ray Trousdale the other day, Buddha the other day, and he said he's only been going over there for about 12 or 13 years. And I thought, well, that's about the same time as me when I first started going over to the old stadium. And I've forgotten. I've lost my thread now. See, I'm 72. I've lost my thread. I've forgotten exactly what I was talking about. Who are you? Sorry. What's going on here? I can see this little head on a television screen in front of me. What was I talking about, Joe?
You were talking about comparing the best players.
Best players. Thank you, darling.
Bring her on. Let's get her on. She knows more than you. Get her in the seat.
You're not wrong there. She always tells me she knows more than me. So I think over the best player I've seen over there for me was Lane Eady.
Mm.
I thought he was a fabulous left back, and I thought he had a fantastic left foot. He was brave for his size. He was good in the air, and I'll be honest, I touted him around to a few professional clubs, but no one got back to me. But I'll tell a lie. Milton Keynes Dons were the only team that got back to me. QPR, I know people down there, Kevin Gallen and Les Ferdinand and people like that. And Kevin Gallen was supposed to be sort of dealing with it, and I pulled Kevin a couple of years after. And Lane, by this time, was about 24. And he said, "Well, how old is he now?" I said, 24. Oh, he's too old. I said, "What are you talking about, too old? It's like got 6, 8, 10 years." And I just went, but it's people, it's people's perceptions of you. If I've played with some great players, great's an overused word. I've played with some fantastic players over the years, kids that could have gone on to make it a professional level. But for one reason or another, they didn't get involved in professional football, or they were not lucky enough to be spotted, but they could have gone on to make it. They could have gone on to make it. And I think from a semi-professional point of view, with the players that are out there now, it's very difficult to commit yourself to 2 nights a week training. If, for instance, you're working in London and you've got to get out to Harlow for 6:30 on a Tuesday and a Thursday evening. And fair play to these boys that do it. It's a lot of hard work. As I say, if you're doing your daily grind, and then you're going off to training, and then you're playing on a Saturday, and you might play on a Tuesday, and then you train on a Thursday. Fair play to them. They don't get a lot of money. There are some players that I've known over the years that have earned a lot of money at semi-pro and doing their daily grind. But it's a difficult thing to do. I never wanted to do Tuesday and Thursday training. Never used to do Tuesday. I used to do training once a week, and that was it. And that was enough for me. So,
But Lee,
anyway.
do you think though, with some of these young players, they've got the talent, they've got everything that they want, but there's no not effort. I'm trying to think of the word I'm looking for. There's no sort of work ethic from them to and being sensible enough as well to actually go forward. I know of 2 players for me, that I managed in my time. One was a lad called John Hockley, and he was probably one of the best footballers I've ever seen. Full stop. I'm talking about across the board on any level.
Yeah.
The lad was just incredible. He'd be one of these boys. You turn up to a game. If it was 11 aside, if it was 5 aside, and the opposition would turn around and go, "Is John with you?" "Yeah, he's with us." "Oh, we don't stand a chance tonight then." And they would chop at him at his ankles, and he must have had a centre of balance in his big toe, because you've never seen a bit like it. He would score the most outrageous goals that you've ever seen, like free kicks from the halfway line, or he'd run through the middle and just put it in the back of the net. And I remember he was playing at one stage. He was playing 6 different teams on 6 different days.
Yeah.
And he went up to the Waltham Abbey Sports Centre. He was playing for me in a 5-a-side team at the time. He went up, played for another team in the Sports Centre at Waltham Abbey. Took the mickey out of some bloke. Decided to go back and do it again. And this bloke was probably 20 years older than him. Went straight at him, double-footed challenge on his ankle, and snapped his ankle in about 3 places.
Yeah.
But he would be one of these players where he'd run past you and he'd pull your trousers down, and he'd urinate in your water bottle and stuff like this, all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And then there was another lad that played for Harlow, actually, a lad called Sandini that played for Harlow. He played for Waltham Abbey. Another lad that was absolutely outstanding football player, really lovely kid. But it just sometimes he would sort of lose his focus. I think that's probably the best thing to say. He would lose his focus and he would not turn up to training, or he'd take his mum out, as Danny Chapman said, he would take his mum out shopping. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And things like this. So there was all these sort of things that they would do when both of those players could easily be playing professional football, as we speak now. And it's such a disappointment. He got all that talent that they go. So do you think these other players, you're talking about players, and is that another reason why some of these young players that we might see come into the Harlow side or into another side that maybe don't progress where we expect them to progress because of that?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, over the years, football, when I was playing and managing back in the day, it was a totally different game. And I've managed clubs in my late 50s, and I would have lads turn up on a Saturday, high as kites, you know, up the nose or blow, and you see their pupils, and I'd be like, "You're all right." And ones that are on the blow, on the up the nose, they were like, couldn't stop talking. If they could run as fast as their mouth, they would have been mustard. But you know, I mean, they were there was background, obviously, but they were pills. You know, they were nothing really uppers or downers. I never partook of anything like that. I didn't need it. I just loved the game. But over the years, and to me, when football started to go wrong was when the big money started coming in. The big money. I don't begrudge the players getting the wages they're getting now, because if that is the money that people can pay, if these owners of football clubs can pay all these hundreds of £1,000s to top players, then you can only imagine the amount of money that was going into their own pocket at the end of a game. You know, if you've got players that are earning 200 or 300 grand a week in the professional leagues, imagine what sort of money the chairman or the owner of that club was pocketing themselves. So I'm all for the players getting the money, and television rights and all that have come into play as well. But now football is a completely different game. All the play acting, you've seen it yourself, Dave. At World Cups, people have got the ball, hits them in their stomach or on their chest, and they go around rolling on the floor, holding their head, and nothing's happened to them. And this all filters down through football. You see little kids now. I watch kids playing football, and they're rolling around on the floor. There was never any of that when I was playing. You didn't want to see, you don't want to let the other players see that you were hurt. You would get up and go, you grit your teeth. You go, oh, get your back for that, you bastard! But now it's all about the money. Everything today is about money, and I'm not belittling youngsters in any way, shape, or form. It's a different world to what I was brought up in, a completely different world to what I was brought up in. I mean, I was brought up in, there was the kids today, they wouldn't even understand how I was brought up. You know, I mean, I was brought up in slums in Notting Hill, and I remember the first race riots in 1958. I'm not talking about what's happening now. I remember the first race riots in 1958. I remember seeing a black fella walking down the road and a car full of teddy boys with bicycle chains with razor blades in them. They got out of their car and they was hitting him with these bicycle chains. And I can't understand that sort of behaviour. I don't understand all that. So, as I say, time has gone on. All this sort of technology now, the way that I'm talking to you now and seeing your beautiful face in front of me. Sorry about laughing now. Cut.
But Lee, how did so with the job you're doing now? I mean, how did that come about? How did you get to be master of ceremonies and
master of mistakes? I know I do make a few mistakes. I hope nobody ever notices them. But that's all part and parcel of the fun. You have a laugh about it. Now, what happened was last summer, they were looking for someone to do the master of ceremonies or whatever you want to call it, or the mic business, because Ronnie Bruce, nice man, but he was broad Scottish, and I'm not. My father-in-law was Scottish, but it was difficult to understand him sometimes. And he used to get quite a bit of stick off of us sitting around him. And I think he sort of said, well, up yours. Someone else said, well, I'll do it for one game, because no one else was volunteering. I said, well, I'll do it for one game. And I think it was the Orient game last summer after the sad loss of Justin Edinburgh. And I said, I'll do it for one game. And then, of course, the usual sort of bullshit comes out of, oh, you were fantastic, you were brilliant. Yeah. I went, yeah, all right. Can you do it yeah, look, till you get someone else, and of course, until you came back, of course, unless you want to take over next season, Dave.
Listen, mate. As I've said to you before, did I used to enjoy doing it? Absolutely, I loved every minute of it. but it's your job, and it's your job until you decide you don't want to do it anymore. So it's as simple as that. But yeah, as I said to you before, the day you say you've had enough, and if they was to ask me to do it, would I do it? Yes, I'd do it 100%. But I'm not one of these people that that will come back in and go, well, I'll take it back over now. Thanks very much, Lee. That's not how I work. You're doing that, and until the day you decide you don't want to do it anymore, you carry on doing it. So it's not an issue with me whatsoever. But the club itself, I mean, you speak so passionately about, and you can see in your face of how much the club means to you, and a bit like the other 5 people have as well. I mean, if you were sort of like looking at next season and the season after, I mean, do you see good things for Harlow? Do you think that we will get back to these really good days and seeing us getting climbing up the leagues again and getting maybe into even as far up as, say, somewhere like Conference South?
Definitely. You can never say never. You can never say never, because football is that sort of a game. It's you have your good days, you have your bad days. As I said earlier, and it depends. I think if we could, it would be nice to get some more bums on seats. I think a couple of seasons ago, I think the average gate was about 220, 230, and now that must have gone down to about 150.
But for whatever reason, how do you see Harlow? What have Harlow got to do? To actually maybe get people back into the ground. Is that getting a successful team? Is that I don't know, really really stupidly maybe, I don't know, going out into the community? Would we have to? Is that none of that going to happen unless we move the club back into the middle of the town? All this sort of stuff. Is there something that you see that would be the ultimate thing to get the people back in?
Yeah, it's a shame that the club is where it is, because it's in the top corner, the top corner of Harlow Town. There's no buses that go up there. The nearest train station is about a mile away. I'm assuming about a mile away. And the nearest bus that goes there is about a mile away as well, up to the bus station. So you've either got to get to those places and walk it. There's been, over the last couple of seasons, it's been mooted that maybe the club could buy a transit minivan, 12, 14, 15 seater, and be able to ferry people if they want to get to the bus station. I don't really think that's a good idea, personally. I don't think the club is sold enough to the people of Harlow. If you imagine that Harlow is approximately 80,000 people, and you're only getting 150 to a game, that to me has been a bone of contention over the last few years. I've spoken to Tommy and Paul, and they've said they've tried various things. Players, you've got to have a good manager. I think, personally, my own personal opinion, I think that managers at this level get a lot of stick. They get a lot of stick, unfair stick. And I'm not just speaking up for Danny Chapman here. I know Danny's been the manager since I've been going over there. And when I first went over the first few seasons, it wasn't very good football. It was long ball stuff, knocking the ball down to the channels and, sort of chase after that. But then it sort of got to the mid, sort of teens when we got the promotion and that, and we started playing a bit of football. And that was how we won the promotion, because we were playing football. We were playing bloody good football, and I love Popey's grit. We need someone like Popey in the team, someone that, what they used to call a kick bottle and biter.
Well, how about having 2 centre halves of Craig Pope and Danny Brown? That'd be all right, wouldn't it?
I don't know how often we finish with 11 players on the pitch, so I mean, as much as I like that battle and that spirit, you've got to temper it. You've got to know when to rein it in.
And you could have Cyrus Gordon sitting just in front of him as a defensive midfield.
Lovely. I love Cyrus. I love Cyrus, not because he's the best footballer, but because he tries. He always tries, to me, 100%. And that is what I like about him. And, and a lot of the young players today, as I said earlier, whether it's because they're getting money in other means, I don't know. Whether they're not, they just see football as a side swipe to earn a bit more money. I don't like to think they do think like that. I like to think they play for the love of the game.
Yeah.
For the love of the game, and that's what it's all about to me, is the love of the game. And if you're not putting in, as I said earlier, to repeat myself, if you're not putting 100% in, don't bother. I used to say when I was playing, I'd be on the boys' backs all the time. I had the biggest mouth on the football pitch. And in fact, one year, my wife's laughing now. One year we had an awards ceremony at one of the clubs I was at, and this award was for I couldn't believe it. It was just a one-off. Said, and this goes to the player with the biggest mouth in football, and they got me a shark's mouth with all the teeth on a plinth, and they awarded that to me. I don't know why. I can't understand that. I think it was a bit harsh at the time, but no, they called. It was the Golden Gob, and but as I said, that's all part and parcel. People taking the piss out of you, taking the piss out of other players, and that's what it's. That's football for me. And as I say, the game today has completely changed. In as much as what I was saying earlier about all the phonies that are out there now, and they're earning a lot of money in them. I've been watching some of the old football games on the TV now, the World Cup, and you see, and like Leeds United. I don't know if you're probably too young to remember Chelsea versus Leeds, the cup final and the replay.
I've seen it, yeah.
Brutal. I mean, and some of the challenges, they were like, there you turn it. Oh, Jesus Christ. You wouldn't get away with that now. You wouldn't get away. I'm not saying that that's how football should be played. I'm saying that football is a game for skill. And if you're a defender, you've got to try and stop that opponent fairly, if you can. But there are little things that go on, little elbows and digs, and little slide digs and broken nose. I've had my nose broken 3 times. I've had my teeth knocked out. So I'm going to take them out and show you.
That was just the wife.
It's not. I'll tell you, it's not the physical scars. It's the mental scars with the wife. Mentally, I'm totally screwed up. But the physical side of it, that all clears up. But mentally, I'm just I'm one flew over the cuckoo's nest.
Listen, Lee, time's running away. But listen, it's been magic having you on today. I've had a really good laugh. Really looking forward to seeing you back in Harlow in the next few months, and we can get back to having a good laugh on the upstairs there, and hopefully Harlow, get going well for next season. But I really do appreciate you coming on tonight and giving your time, and thank you very much for that. Coming in the future, with hopefully tonight, where if I can get hold of him today, we'll be talking to Danny Brown later on today. We've also got Junior Dadson lined up. We've also got Ross Arnold lined up, Fabian Sims lined up, to say just a few. And we'll hopefully getting those done in the next few weeks. Don't worry about the one with Phil Tewson. As soon as Phil's feeling well, we'll get that sorted with Phil as well. But thanks for watching me. Thanks for watching Lee. And we'll see you very, very soon with My Harlow My Life. But until then, good night.
Stay safe and well, everyone.